And I'm thrilled that Brian is with us. He is with Comfort Keepers. I'll let him do a little bit more of the background, but they've been doing some great things. So it's wonderful to have you with us, Brian, and I'll let you take it away.
Great. Well, thank you, Susan, for that nice introduction. And my name is Brian Huber, and I work for a company called Comfort Keepers. And what we do is we actually go into people's homes and provide care for them. So we primarily focus on the senior market, but it could really be anyone that needs assistance in their home. And the reason that is very important is that 90% of aging people want to do so in their homes. And of course, we want to help provide a solution for that. So, and just some quick information about us. We have 450 franchise locations in the U.S. And many more internationally. We run marketing at a national level and local level to acquire new clients and caregivers. So we really have two main audiences that we're going after. And of course, campaigns, not surprising here. We do a lot of pay-per-click. People do go to the internet to help solve this problem. They don't always know what in-home care is. So we want to be relevant there. So we do a lot of PPC in Google and Bing, display, YouTube, Facebook, TV, those types of things. And I've been in my role for about 2 years now, and we've used DialogTech for about a year and a half. And as Susan mentioned earlier, you know that phone calls are coming in, but we really started digging down and tracking very closely to see the conversions that were happening. And far and away, when you have 70% of your conversions that are coming in from phone calls as a marketer, that makes you take a very different approach mentally to how you're actually doing your marketing. And we'll talk about some of the challenges that I have of those phone calls that are coming in. And these are valuable to us. These, people are making a high dollar decision in most cases, and they're not just going out to order a $10 product. They have a loved one, and they want to make sure that we're going to do a great job caring for mom or dad. So some of the challenges when I joined the organization, we run national advertising. So to facilitate the calls that would come from the national advertising, we have a call center. So, our 800 numbers will ring in from the website, TV commercials, and then, the call center will answer these as a third-party call center. And then they will actually route them down to the local franchise office. On the flip side of that, we have 450 independently owned and operated franchise locations. They contribute to the National Marketing Fund, but they also do local marketing as well. So when you think about, from a website perspective, I have an overall comfortkeepers.com website, but I also have 400 other websites where people can engage along the journey as well. Of course, the overall challenge is I can send a lead to an office, and, I rely on them to take in the information, go out and convert that person into a client or a caregiver as well. So, we had a huge gap with visibility. So imagine you do, a search for home care, and you click on a pay-per-click ad, and you end up on comfortkeepers.com. You like what you see, and you find a location and dial that number. Well, previously, we had no visibility into all of the local numbers that were being dialed based off of the national advertising that was happening. So, somebody would call an office directly, and a franchisee would think, oh, this is great, I've gotten a call, when, I want to be able to attribute some of our efforts to what's actually happening at the local level. So, as one would suspect, we have tracking toll-free numbers on our main website. So, those are adjusted depending on the source that they click through from, so that we can track those sources. But as mentioned, we had literally hundreds and hundreds of locations that we weren't tracking any of those calls. So if you found a location and dialed them directly, we just lost total visibility to that. And then the franchisee would think that they just got a regular call that came in, probably from their own website. And then, the other piece of this is click to call. So not only in our AdWords, but being able to, put that right into our experience, mobile experience for the website. And it was very interesting. We actually did some testing with the call button there. So, an icon that says call underneath it. So on all of the pages on the website, you're going to have your main menu at the top, but we actually put a click to call button at the bottom. So as people are scrolling down, which is the natural behavior for someone using a phone, when they get to the bottom, would they press a click to call button? And not surprisingly, they actually do. So, they ingest the content there, and they can, make it easy for them to click to call. So, the placement of that click to call button was very important to us as well. So, this has been great. We've started tracking everything. We have a small team in place, and we're getting thousands of calls coming in. And, now the next challenge becomes, how do we start to understand what happened to the calls, right? So we rely on understanding, okay, where it came from, listening to recordings and transferring it. But how can we start to look at, the insight into what happened when those calls are transferred to the local franchisee? So, that has been a really incredible next step for us, because what we've been able to do is start to use analysis of the actual calls. So looking at the words that are said in the recorded calls to start to categorize those. So again, I have a very small team, and we can't listen to thousands of calls, put a disposition to those calls, and then, really try to follow up and say, okay, what was new customer, new client, new caregiver? So we've been working with DialogTech to come up with this, conversation analysis to say, can we go through a sampling and tell DialogTech, these calls, are of this type of disposition, and then let them run it through their analytics product and start to machine learn and say, okay, now I'm getting thousands of calls coming in, but I can understand what the disposition of those calls is. So we can categorize those. And now instead of saying, hey, we drove 2,000 calls this week, I can say, we drove X number of new customer calls, X number of existing customers, new caregivers, existing caregivers, other. So we can really start to break that down and get a much more granular understanding of the calls that were coming in without listening to every single phone call. And of course, display ads, this was something that we have just started working with DialogTech, and it was a no-brainer. It's like, well, we can, remarket to people and have them call, because we know that is a channel that they want to engage with us. They want to be able to call. And typically from a display ad, you don't really do that. You put a click back to a website. If we can make that frictionless where they can see the ad, click it, and call in, that's going to be very, very powerful for us. So really, in summary here, the payoff for us, certainly better visibility across the marketing efforts that we're doing, both nationally and locally, understanding the volume of calls that are made at the national level versus the local level, the form fills, actually even coming back to the website and converting at a later time, providing value. So, when I first started, we would just be very generic in how we reported out some of the results to our franchise network. Now we can start to get more granular, but not only that, we can also improve and do better. So we can take information that we're getting from these calls, put that back to our agency that runs our pay-per-click. They can get smarter about how they're putting our ads out there as well. And then, again, the call disposition piece was overwhelming to us. I mean, just with thousands of calls coming in, if we can automate that process and, machine learn and improve and get that to a very understandable place for not only the internal folks, but the franchisee as well, that's very, very attractive to us and really takes our efforts to the next level.